Kizaru himself has also done exceedingly well in keeping up the Luffy so far, and he has tricked the Straw Hat Pirate on more occasions than one. While this fight appears to be extremely even at the moment, that doesn't have to be the case if Luffy relies on one of his biggest weapons, and that is Conqueror's Haki. Fans know this Haki to be exceptionally dangerous, however, for some reason, Luffy is not using it right now. The power of Conqueror's Haki. Conqueror's Haki is a very rare form of Haki that exists in the One Piece world. This power is something that cannot be taught to someone. In fact, the other two forms of Haki, the color of arms and the color of observation, are present inside every person and just need to be tapped into and learned. However, the case with Conqueror's Haki is very different. This power is something that one is blessed with at birth. Only 1 in a million people are born with this ability, and only they can go on to unlock it once their backs are against the wall. Luffy started tapping into the powers of Conqueror's Haki around the time when he was on the way to Sabaody. On Amazon Lily, he displayed this power once again as it was starting to awaken. In the Paramount War, he once again displayed this incredible ability in front of everyone, marking himself as a big target for the world government. It was thanks to Rayleigh that Luffy managed to gain a grasp over this power and eventually started controlling it. He had learned all the basics of Haki in his 18-month training with Rayleigh and progressed further in 6 more months. After the time skip, Luffy continued using his abilities, and it was finally in Wano, where he fought against Kaido, that he realized that Conqueror's Haki had an advanced application as well. Essentially, one can use this power to coat themselves and increase their offensive output as well as defensive capabilities. When Luffy utilized this power, he was able to stand on an equal footing with Kaido. When combined with his Gear 5, he was able to best the Yonko. Right now, in the fight against Kizaru, however, Luffy is not utilizing this power, for one reason or another. Luffy versus Kizaru so far, the fight between these two characters has been incredibly exciting for the fans to witness. While Luffy started with his ferocious snakeman, it proved to be not enough for him to take on Kizaru. While he did land quite a lot of blows on Kizaru in this form, and even earn the respect of the Marine Admiral, he was not able to stop the ferocious powers of the Pika Pika no Mi user. Once Kizaru started getting serious, it was quite clear that Gear 4 Snakeman was not going to be enough to deal with him. The Marine Admiral blew him away with a kick that he charged by flying away from the island and then coming at him at the speed of light. The result was that Luffy was completely blinded and was sent flying through the Frontier Dome. Luffy immediately realized that Gear 4 was not going to be enough to take down a Marine Admiral, and, as such, he returned in his Gear 5 form, and the fight progressed even further. In the previous chapter, fans saw clearly that Luffy was having a lot of fun fighting Kizaru. He threw him across the island, and even fought against his light clones. He launched some powerful attacks on him, and even ended up eating his life, and yet he did not tap into the powers of his Haki, which is very strange for the fans. Why Luffy isn't using Conqueror's Haki versus Kizaru? It is quite strange for Luffy to not rely on the color of the Supreme King in his fight against Kizaru. When Luffy fought against Kaido, it was quite clear that he was utilizing both his color of arms Haki and his Conqueror's Haki. This was quite evident from the fact that his hands were often coated in Haki, and when they were not, he was able to produce massive lightning sparks as well, which is an indicator of the color of the Supreme King being used. Kaido himself mentioned that Luffy has a freewheeling combat, where he utilizes his imagination to the fullest as well as relies on both armament and Conqueror's Haki. Yet, here, there is no indication of him using the color of the Supreme King against Kizaru. The only reason as to why he is not utilizing this power is because he does not deem it necessary to be used at the moment. Judging by how things are right now, Luffy is fairly confident that he can handle Kizaru without utilizing this power. His Gear 5 is his go-to technique, and that will always be the case from here onwards. Luffy utilized this power because it grants him a significant boost, but at the same time, it also serves a narrative purpose. Gear 5 was specifically tapped into because the Iron Giant needed to be awakened with drums of liberation. If Luffy had used the color of the Supreme King with Snakeman, he would most likely have been able to hold Kizaru off without going into Gear 5. However, the plot would not have moved forward as the Iron Giant would not have awakened. However, if Luffy had gone into Gear 5 and utilized the color of Supreme King as well, then Kizaru would just have been defeated in one chapter, and that would have taken away all tension from the story. If Kizaru had been able to put up a fight against Luffy despite him using both of these skills, then it would have undermined the power of the color of the Supreme King and Gear 5. All things considered, the best way for Oda out of this situation was to make sure that Luffy only uses one of his powers at the moment. That certainly does not mean that he will not use Conqueror's Haki in his fight as it moves forward. There is a lot that Kizaru still has not shown to the fans, and one interesting power is Devil Fruit Awakening. If Kizaru takes things a notch higher by utilizing his Devil Fruit Awakening, then Luffy will have to take his power a level higher as well, and most likely bring out the color of the Supreme King. This would turn this already exciting fight into a more intense one, and make Egghead Island an even better arc. And in other news, One Piece, King of Hell Zoro vs. Awakened Lucci explained, One Piece's Egghead Island is ramping up with each passing chapter, and incredible fights are being set up for the climax of this arc already. In the last few chapters, great advancements have been made when it comes to the Egghead War, and finally, this event of massive proportions is well underway. Luffy, the captain of the Straw Hat Pirates, took on Kizaru in battle, and currently, the two are engaged in what appears to be the grand clash of this arc. However, another interesting clash that is currently going on is the one between Lucci and Zoro. Fans know these characters to be incredibly powerful in their own right, and it is going to be extremely special to witness these two go head-to-head against each other. In the previous chapter, fans finally saw Zoro tap into the power of the King of Hell in order to best Lucci, who is in his awakened state. Zoro vs. Lucci begins immediately after the Marines made landfall at Egghead. Quite a lot of interesting events started unfolding. Kizaru, the Marine Admiral, drew first blood as he entered the island and fought against Sentomaru. As soon as that happened, fans knew that it was only a matter of time before he got to the lava phase and started fighting against the Straw Hat Pirates. That is precisely what ended up happening, and Kizaru was met by Luffy not that long after. As soon as that happened, Lucci, who had been conspiring against the Straw Hat Pirates even after allying with them, made his move as well. His target was none other than Vegapunk, and he almost succeeded in assassinating him. Thankfully, Stussy blocked the attack and currently remains injured, following the powerful finger pistol that she received from the CP0 agent. Zoro, who was slow to react to this, jumped in immediately and clashed with Lucci. The fight was immediately taken outside the laboratory, where it would be safer for both of them to go all out. At the time, Zoro was the strongest one on the scene, and it was only natural for him to take on the biggest responsibility in Luffy's absence by himself. Meanwhile, Sanji completely trapped Kaku in a bubble, preventing him from using any powers of his devil fruit. While a lot was happening around this time, fans had their eyes on the fight between Zoro and Lucci, which is now continuing. King of Hell Zoro's vs. Awakened Lucci. In One Piece chapter 1093, fans got a glimpse of the fight between Zoro and Lucci. Previously, these two fighters were both in their base forms when they clashed. Zoro was only using two swords, and Lucci was not using his devil fruit powers at all. The former was seen attacking with his swords coated in Haki, and Lucci raised his leg to block this attack with his powerful iron body combined with Haki. When the fight went outside, it appears that these two characters brought out their very best. In the case of Zoro, he did not waste any time tapping into the powers of his King of Hell three-sword style. Fans know that when Zoro uses three swords, he brings out his very best. This means Zoro is currently at his full power. At the same time, he's also not holding back when it comes to utilizing Enma. Thanks to this sword, Zoro can tap into the power of Advanced Armament Haki as well as Advanced Conquerors Haki. The usage of both of these powers is evident by looking at his swords. There is a green aura on his swords, combined with black lightning emerging from the blade clearly suggests that Zoro is utilizing Conqueror's Haki in this fight and going completely all out. This puts even more respect on Lucci, as he is an extremely powerful fighter, and although he might not be as strong as the likes of the Yonko or the Admirals, he is the next best thing and most likely an equal to Zoro at the moment. Zoro now needs to keep in mind to end this battle as soon as possible, given that his Haki power-up does not last for too long as Enma is way too draining for him to handle. At the same time, Lucci is not holding back at all. Although he initially started the fight by only relying on Haki, he immediately changed his stance. As seen in the previous chapter, Lucci is tapping into the powers of the Nico Nico no Mi model, Leopard right now. To take things even a step beyond, he is also tapping into his awakening, which fans already saw during his fight against Luffy, who is in his Gear 5. When taking this form, Lucci becomes extremely powerful. His techniques became so strong that Sentomaru, an avid user of Haki with an incredibly tough guard, was not able to deflect his hand pistol. Furthermore, he was able to trade blows with Gear 5 for a couple of minutes before eventually being completely overpowered. While Gear 5 was certainly levels above him in terms of what he could take on, Zoro certainly is not. This fight is definitely going to be even for the most part. Zoro himself mentioned in the previous chapter that Lucci does not have it in him to fight against Luffy, and the CP0 man replied that taking the head of an Emperor's number 2 is also very impressive. Who will win, Zoro versus Lucci? The fight between Zoro and Lucci is most likely going to continue from here onwards. Both of these fighters are exceptionally powerful and capable enough of defeating the other. However, when taking into consideration all things that fans have seen from these two characters, Zoro appears to have an edge. Zoro has previously done things that one simply cannot imagine Lucci pulling off. For instance, he has enough power in him to scar Kaido. If that wasn't enough, he was able to defeat King with incredibly powerful strikes. While Lucci could very well be stronger than King, as appears to be the case at this point in time, Zoro needs to get stronger and, perhaps, that is what he will do as he fights against this enemy. Lucci has an incredible arsenal of weapons up his sleeve. However, fighting back against the power of Conquerors, Haki and Fusion is not going to be easy for him. If Zoro brings out his very best, such as Dragon Damnation or, even worse, such as Ashura, the fight would end very soon and Zoro would be declared the winner. That said, this fight is definitely not going to be easy for Zoro. Lucci has more than enough in him to injure him greatly, and even push him to his last legs. Regardless of the outcome, this is going to be a fight that fans will thoroughly enjoy, as the Egghead Island arc edges towards its end. That's a wrap for this video. Don't forget to like this video and subscribe to our channel. We'll be back with more amazing videos very soon.